Welcome back to Niaga AWANI with me, Ibrahim Sani. As we all know, the rise of Sharia banking and Sharia finance is, of course, taking deep roots in Malaysia. In step of this, Funding Societies has introduced its Shariah-compliant trade financing solutions based on Tawarruq or Commodity Murabahah. The new offering enables underserved and creditworthy micro SMEs to access an additional financing option to grow their business and expand their working capital. This is in particular as the country reopens its economic sectors and transitions into the endemic phase, of which we haven't yet entered. Joining us online right now, live, is Wong Meng, the co-founder and CEO of Funding Societies Malaysia. Meng, it's been some time since we last spoke, but what interesting times would this be? Let's talk a little bit into why Funding Societies is introducing a Tawarruq product. What's wrong with going conventional?
Hi, good morning, Ibrahim. Pleasure to be back again, and always a pleasure to speak with you. I think definitely more than happy to share. I think as you correctly mentioned, over the past 2 years, we've seen multiple lockdowns, and that's where you see a lot of business activities and trade slow down. As we move and recover into the endemic phase, we will see more corporate activity like coming back into life, and that's why we see a lot of transactions happening with the SMEs within the ecosystems of these corporate anchors. And this could be both the suppliers, vendors to these big corporate anchors, as well as customers of these big corporate anchors. And hence, we thought that this is a good opportunity for us to roll out a Shariah-compliant trade financing proposition into the market to help these SMEs to get access to financing based on their business dealings with these big corporate anchors. I think when we go into the market, we do see there's a big opportunity for this based on feedback from both from an SME perspective as well as from an investor side perspective. And that's why we thought that this is a great time for us to go into the market in terms of offering a Shariah-compliant trade financing product.
Do you feel that the Islamic financing and fintech segment is growing? Do you feel that this is an area that not many, solutions are being provided?
I think one of the key trends that we observed during the pandemic period was that there was increasing adoption of digitalization of SMEs. I think there are multiple reports, and I think some of them were saying that 60% of SMEs are looking to digitize their business. And I think another 60% are also continue to adopt new financing solutions outside from the traditional sector. And I think this bodes well, and I think there are a couple of reports that talk about how digital lending or fintech has actually furthered the Islamic financing market during the pandemic period.
Do you feel that launching such product took some time? Let's talk a little bit more about how Funding Societies is rolling out this product and perhaps some relationship between Mashraf Advisory.
Yeah, I think this took a bit of time. I think especially when the whole pandemic started, we had to deal with basically how we manage the SMEs and investors on our portfolio. But given as things have normalized and things have gotten back to some level of normalcy, we thought that this is an opportunity for us to restart the conversation and hence launch Shariah-compliant financing products at this point in time. In terms of our go-to-market strategy, it's really working with corporate anchors, and this could be both on the public as well as the private sectors, and we have been having ongoing conversations. So, for example, one of the recent partnerships that we announced with MUFG, which is one of the big Japanese banks, to work with their corporate clients to reach out to the SMEs, whether it's suppliers as well as customers, in terms of providing financing solutions to them.
The nation's interest is, of course, trying to grow the micro and small, medium-sized enterprises. There has been some conversations on trying to grow the Islamic finance in this space as well. It seems like you guys are touching on two very important key elements that the nation is trying to focus on. Do you feel that you're going to get enough support and assistance through various means, tax breaks, incentives, you name it, from the government or governmental agencies in order for you to actually achieve greater market share?
Yeah, I think that's an ongoing conversation that we're having with those stakeholders. And I think that would definitely be one of the key areas in which is needed in order to further position Malaysia as one of the leading Islamic financing hubs. I think to your point earlier, being able to work with very reputable Sharia advisors will also give us credibility in terms of working with these different stakeholders as well. I think overall we do see this as being aligned to one of the recent SD's publications of their capital market master plan, as well as the financial sector blueprint. So I think all this comes together quite nicely in terms of broadening and further positioning Malaysia as a key Islamic financing hub globally.
Now, it's not just Malaysia. Malaysia, Funding Societies has just entered Vietnam. You guys have raised Series C, C plus early in the year. It seems like you're going from strength to strength. I know it's pretty obvious for me to ask this, but do you feel that some of the countries need tailor-made solutions in order for you to deepen your presence in these various markets? Or do you think there is a universal theme that you guys can produce and deliver to the market to a point where it's ubiquitous, many of these countries can actually adopt the same kind of service and offerings?
Yes, I think definitely there needs to be some level of localization. And I think given that we have broad exposure and footprint across the different markets in Southeast Asia, I think we have served a very large variety of SME segments. So I think compared to some of the other platforms, I think our strategy has always been to serve the largest segment of SMEs in terms of whether it's a size segment from micro all the way to large medium enterprises, as well as across different industries. And I think the benefit of having a regional footprint and experience is being able to sort of look at how different markets behave differently and be able to sort of have a continuum of solutions that we are able to sort of plug and play, modularize, and tailor to each of the markets that we now enter into. So I think there is a level of localization that's needed, and I think we are able to sort of leverage on our regional footprint in order to deliver on that.
When Funding Societies announced that you guys have raised about 150 million US or thereafter, they're about 600 million ringgit in an oversubscribed Series C plus, led by VCs like SoftBank Vision Fund 2 into its legal entity, Funding Asia Group Limited. There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of conversation into what's next for Funding Societies. Do you feel that more funds is needed right now to grow your company even further heading into the second half of this year?
I think for us, we have been quite fortunate to be able to get the trust from some of the names of investors that you mentioned. I think we are very grateful for that. And I think that puts us in a very strong footing, as you mentioned earlier, in terms of expanding into new markets, in terms of deepening the presence that we have in existing countries and launching new verticals. So, for example, not just doing financing, but also providing new banking as well as payment services to these SMEs that we serve. So we want to really be a one-stop shop proposition for digital financial services for these SMEs. And I think that has actually put us in a very strong position coming off the fundraise that we had announced earlier this year. So now, having said that, we're always in conversations to see how much more that we can do in the region and as well as in the existing countries that we are in.
We don't have much time left, but the conversation of digital banks is actually prevalent, at least in Malaysia at least. We've seen how Bank Negara has introduced or announced 5 new banking recipients, digital banking license recipients. Do you feel that there is a role for you to play in this space, with these players?
I think back to the point earlier, so out of the 5 digital banks that were announced in Malaysia, 2 of them are actually Islamic focused, right? And I think that works very well for the whole Islamic financing angle for Malaysia, as well as the broader digital banking arena in Malaysia. And I think for us, we have always positioned ourselves as being partnering with banks since day one when we launched in the different markets that we are in right now. We're always looking for banking partners, and I think that's no different from also digital banks that will be upcoming. Speaking to them and engaging them, how we are able to sort of help them to reach out to, underwrite, and manage the SMEs that they are looking to onboard as part of their digital banking proposition. So I think that works very well for in terms of expansion of the Islamic financing market, the digital financing landscape, as well as an opportunity for us to work with them to deliver this kind of digital financial services propositions to these SMEs.
Do you have harboring any ambitions to become digital bank yourself?
I think for us, the strategy has always been one of partnership, and I think it's partnership with digital banks or corporates or anchors as well as ecosystem platforms. And I think the overall ambition is really to enable digital financial services to SMEs. We don't necessarily having to become a bank